Welcome. We're going to go over robot assembly and brick navigation. So your robot is going to come partially disassembled, about 90% according to the instructor guide, because the entire thing will not fit inside the black case. So it's been taken down slightly and meant to be put back together for semi-easy assembly. So right now you should have this, which is the majority of the robot, the brick with pegs inserted on each side, two what we're calling leg extensions, one of each piece to be placed on each side, and then this is the gyro sensor. So this screen is the front of the robot. It will be pointed towards the front, same direction as the arm. And these overall just kind of snap into place. All the pegs, the black pegs, should be placed already on the robot. Sometimes they take just a bit of maneuvering to kind of get them in. So I'm going to tilt this away from the camera just so I can get it in. But towards the front they should go right in the middle, and towards the back they should do something similar. Yep, and this just snaps into place. Next, we assemble these little legs. So these already have pegs, of blue and black pegs already on the side of the robot. You'll have to move the wheels slightly to get this in, and it goes in like this. But the peg should always remain in place, so that nobody has to, the next instructor after you does not have to figure out where they go. So when you're taking this down, make sure that these pegs stay in place. So switching around to the other side, we do the same function, and these snap right into place. So now we are going to review motors, motor ports, and sensor ports. So D, C, B, A, B, C, D. These are motor ports, and these are for the motors, the large motor and the medium motors, which are currently referenced as the wheels. So to my right we have a large motor, to my left we have a large motor, and those are identified because they have wheels attached to them. There's a medium motor down at the bottom where this white piece is, and that's the actual arm of the robot. That's what's called the medium motor. So to my right, this medium motor cord right here, we're going to bring that around to the front of the robot, and we're going to place that in C. This is easiest for me to remember because C is closest to the right side of the robot. And then for this next wheel, I'm going to bring this around, and we're going to put this in B. This is easiest for me to remember because it's on the closest side to that wheel. There's a medium motor down here which we have to be very careful with, because the medium motor and the ultrasonic sensor sit nearly right under each other. So make sure that you're pulling from the medium motor, which has this white portion right here. You pull that around and you bring that into port A. So there are only 3 motors on this robot, which is why we're only going to fill them in on 3 ports. A for medium, B for the left side, C for the right side. So now we're going to move it around to sensors. So there are some descriptive pieces of these sensors on the robot. Hopefully it made it easier prior to this video. If it didn't, your prayers have been answered, and now you have a video. Again, sensor ports 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if we reference the sensor ports on the setup guide, the ultrasonic sensor, which are known as the eyes, are right here. Again, this sits in a very similar space to the medium motor, so make sure that you are verifying which cord you're pulling out. This one will go into port 4. Ultrasonic sensor, aka the eyes, go into port 4. The light sensor, which points down, this one right here, is going to wrap around and go into sensor 3. And then there's this touch sensor right here. This will go into port 1. Unlike the motors that only have 3, these actually have 4. And the last piece is the gyro sensor. This is going to go into port 2, but there's slightly more assembly needed for this. So just in a similar fashion that we were able to connect the brick with the pegs, these have 2 red pieces in here that will just connect to the back right here. And this is currently referenced as the scorpion tail because it kind of looks like a scorpion tail to me. And that's going to go into port 2. The reason that this one comes out and is disassembled from the entire robot is because in order to charge this robot in this port right here, this has to come out. So you should leave these charging overnight and make sure that each kit has a USB connection cable and also the power adapter. So here's what your complete robot should look like. And when it's time to disassemble, you want to take the cords out of the ports, but do not connect them from the actual sensors. So the same method that when we first started, that's the same method it needs to look like when it goes out. Do not allow the junior agents to build this any differently than what's already been put in the case. So on to brick navigation. To turn it on is the center button. And it's starting up right now. Once it's fully on, it'll turn green. Although I don't think that we'll need to use it doing demonstration, this button right here is like the back or cancel button. So here's your main menu. This first tab, it looks kind of like a play button. Those are for recently played or ran programs. Anything that after you've gone through the first demonstration, you're going to instruct the junior agents to use the transfer cable to get the program onto the robot. Anything that was recently played will go into this folder. So in order to find their projects that they just created, you're going to use this navigation button. Over to the right. And you're going to look for the name. It's very important that when you are going through your instructional pieces that you have the junior agents name their projects so that it's much easier to find when it's time to navigate. So the most recently ran program that was on here was the large motor test. You're going to select that. And then you're going to go into that program name. So there's some navigations very similar to outlines and bullet points. There's a bullet point and there's a sub bullet point, and then you get into that program. And now as soon as you hit this center button, it's going to go. If I want to stop it, I'm going to go to that back button right there. But what's so important is that once you've gone into that sub, what we consider like that sub bullet to get ready to run the program, make sure it's already on the floor. Do not allow them to set it on the table, because the minute this button is pressed, straight off the table. So make sure that they're in an open space on the floor, and then they hit this button right here. If they wanted it to stop because it didn't do exactly the way it was instructed, or the program didn't work out the right way, this back button will do the trick. So select the program. If it didn't work out the way you wanted to, you hit this back button. And then this program, if we navigate over to the first tab, it will show up under recently run programs. To power off, you're going to hold this center button down. Maybe not. So, of course it's not the center button. It's going to be the back button right here, and then you're going to get a navigation with a power sign. You're going to use these navigation buttons. Hit X for no, check mark for yes, and that's how you're going to power it down. If you have any questions, your field lieutenants are more than knowledgeable on this process. I hope this has been a pretty decent resource for you. If you still have any more questions, I encourage you to read through the guide thoroughly. A lot of these questions can be answered through the guide, and then also reach out to your field lieutenant team for any reason if you have any questions around the content or the setup of the robot.